Welcome to the Carp's Corner podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Carpenter. Welcome to episode one, the inaugural podcast of this series. I'm very excited to get the ball rolling. Very looking forward to getting my opinions out there, getting my takes on everything, sporting wise. A little bit of backstory. Uh, I have been a collegiate baseball player for 6 years, just ended last June. Previously, I was a competitive ski racer for about 5 years throughout middle school and a little into high school. I also played basketball and football in my youth, and for about 4 years now, I've been playing golf. So I have a lot of, I wouldn't call it an expert in areas, but I definitely more advanced knowledge of baseball and golf, understand the games of everything that's being played. I love watching all the sports. I'm a bit of a sports junkie. If you got something on TV, I'm probably going to have most of my attention on that if it's sports. Um, Podcast is going to be everything sports wise, but just like the title of the podcast, Carp's Corner Beyond Betting. I don't want this to just be where I give out my picks or what I think it looks good for the day. Um, I don't want this to be only about betting. This is much more than just betting. I want to be able to have a conversation for the listeners that betters everybody, whether it's me going into detail about sports that I don't particularly like or watch a lot, going out of my comfort zone into discussing current events in the sporting world, you name it. I want to be able to provide that for you. So, without further ado, let's get this podcast started. So, to start the podcast out, I want to discuss one of the biggest things that's happened today that I'm recording this. MLB Opening Day 2024 for the Major League Baseball season is officially kicked off. We got 13 games being played today and throughout the weekend. Some of the best arms of 2024 being thrown this week. You're going to see some potential MVPs, potential Silver Sluggers getting the start of their season. So it's really fun to see the Major League Baseball season start, knowing that this is going to be one of the best moments to get started for teams. It's going to set the tone for the end of March and going into April, and heading towards the first major part of the season, the All Star break. But a little bit about what I look for opening weekend for Major League Baseball is I look at the starting pitchers. So coming off spring training, the better pitcher typically comes out victorious from what I've seen. Um, just watching it as a fan and as a pitcher myself, when you go from hitters seeing minor league arms in spring training, um, big leaguers being limited to ABs against like good major league pitching, they're seeing minor league arms, not really seeing the ace, only seeing the ace for maybe one at bat, limited innings, all that good stuff. I think personally that pitchers have the advantage opening weekend going into the first week or two of the major league season. And with that, it's good to look out for pitchers that are aces, know that they are dogs, have really good stuff, and have shown that they have good stuff in previous years. So with that, I like two picks on Friday and one pick on Saturday so far, just based off the pitchers alone. The first one is Atlanta money line versus the Phillies. You got two absolute dogs going at each other. Spencer Strider, he is unbelievable. I believe he's going up against Wheeler for the Phillies. It's going to be a pitching match. It's going to be a close one. I think Atlanta is the better team by a sliver, so I'm going to take Atlanta money line versus the Phillies. I'm predicting that Atlanta wins 3-1 tomorrow. The second game of Friday that I like is Dodgers money line versus the Cardinals. Now, I know you're probably asking, and if you know anything about me, I'm from Colorado. I'm a huge Colorado fan. Rockies, Nuggets, Broncos, but Russell Wilson, he's a douche. And the Avalanche, anything Colorado sports I follow, I enjoy. So you're probably saying, Carp, why are you taking the Dodgers against St. Louis? Well, I'll tell you this much. I like the Dodgers a whole lot more than St. Louis because of one thing: the Arenado trade. That was bullshit. I hated it. You can ask Logan. You can ask anybody that knows me. I hated that thing. The fact that the Rockies gave away Nolan Arenado and $50 million pissed me off. I could not believe that was going to happen. And now look at it. Rockies suck. Cards suck. Cards are a little bit better. I'd give it to them, but they didn't really do that well. Last year they had a couple chances and they just couldn't figure it out. But I like Bobby Miller. He looked really, really good last year, kind of setting the tone, and I'm looking for him to set the tone early on for 2024. I think he goes out and shoves. Dodgers lineup versus a left-handed pitcher too. I can't really remember the name of that Cardinals guy off the top of my head. That's pitching Friday, but I do like the Dodgers lineup versus a left-handed hitter a lot better than the St. Louis Cardinals lineup against Bobby Miller. So I'm going to take the Dodgers money line in my second pick of Friday. Moving on to the Saturday game, the only game that I really saw that I liked was Seattle money line versus the Red Sox. Now, keep in mind, these are all home games. The teams that I've picked are the home team. Lines are subject to change. Injuries could happen. Scratches can happen. The reason why I'm picking Seattle against Boston is Logan Gilbert. I think he is an AL West dog. He is very good. I've always enjoyed watching him pitch. He has nasty stuff. He is a go-getter on the mound. He's like a bulldog on the mound. He is unbelievable. Give me Seattle money line versus the Red Sox. The other big thing that's been going on too, everybody knows about it, March Madness. I've said my fair share of things on the Hunt v Breakdown with Hunt Voth about March Madness. There's been a lot of stuff going on, but this is going to be an excellent, excellent time for um, some teams to potentially upset things. As I'm recording this right now, we got 4 games tonight, so I will not be talking about that since this is going to be airing tomorrow, Friday. But for Friday, I do have some predictions. Hopefully, my bracket stays looking good, and hopefully, your guys' bracket has been working out too. But to start it off, you got NC State Cinderella story versus Marquette. I personally love a Cinderella story. Um, every year, I have been rooting for Cinderellas to make it far. 2 years ago is the Peacocks. That was one of the best runs that I've seen in a while. And I'm hoping that NC State can continue this run. And I just think you can't bet against a Cinderella. I think NC State is a good, good team. Marquette is very, very good too. But given the fact that we have a Cinderella story, everybody is going to be rooting for the Cinderella. I hope NC State can make it out in front and move on to the Elite Eight. Then we got Gonzaga versus Purdue. Now, after last year, I think Purdue is out for blood. They look good. Um, Everybody thought that after the tough loss in the Big Ten conference tournament, that they were just going to be a one and done team or maybe a two and done team, get out in the second round. But that hasn't been the case. They have been lights out. There has not been an answer for Edey. He is just bullying people on the basketball court. There's not an answer. I don't think there's going to be an answer. I think Purdue wins that game. Moving on to Duke versus Houston, got a 1v4. Houston is good, but I think Duke is coming off very, very hot from the JMU, shooting exceptionally. Now, you can argue they beat a 12 seed by 40. Now, I understand that. But just because you're playing a 12 seed doesn't mean everything with it. That doesn't mean that a 4 seed should be beating a 12 seed by 40 every single time. That's usually kind of unheard of. I think they were just shooting the ball exceptionally well. Now, the other thing is Houston. They're a 1 seed. I don't think they make it past this round personally. I think Duke wins that game, and that's what my brackets had the entire time. Last game of the Friday bracket. Creighton versus Tennessee. A quick toss-up. You got a 3 versus a 2 seed. I've liked Creighton the entire tournament. Tennessee has Tennessee has been good. I just think that Creighton has been heating up the entire time. Late in games, Creighton hasn't really found anybody that's been giving them a tough time to kind of close out the game. So I think Creighton wins that game. So to kind of go over March Madness, I think you got NC State moving on, Purdue moving on, Duke moving on, and Creighton moving on. So I think you're going to see a 1 seed and a 2 seed, possibly two seeds, all leaving the tournament, which is kind of unheard of. Um, so don't take my word for it. I could just be the next idiot podcaster that is just hoping for a miracle. But, you know, crazier things have happened. But I am looking forward to March Madness, going to the Elite Eight, and seeing what these teams end up doing. Last part of the show, I've been thinking about a title for this for a while. I don't want to copy anybody, but I am excited to introduce Carp's 14ers of the day. Now, I'm from Colorado, born and raised in Boulder, Colorado. The biggest things in Colorado are the 14ers. Those are all the mountain peaks that are over 14,000 feet tall. And I wanted to start a segment where I can ask guests in the future for their kind of Mount Rushmore style podcast question and answer segment. And I want to start it off with a banger. So for the Carps 14er of the day, the question of the day is, what gets you through the day? Now, when I sit back and think, what gets me through a work day, being a full-grown adult, out of school, out of baseball, got nothing really going on besides work, I think about what gets you through the day. So at number 4, I'd say what gets me through the day is the question, when can I golf again? Now this is a 4, easy in my head. Just the thought of looking forward to when I can golf again. When is it going to be nice out, being in Illinois in March? Um, is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be in 2 weeks? When is it going to be 65, 60 degrees and sunny, little wind, where I can get out there and enjoy the day? So I'd say a solid number 4 pick for me for the first ever 14er of the day is, when can I golf again? Number 3 is, it applies to me every once in a while. I wouldn't say I indulge in this much, but when it does happen, and when you're thinking, how do I get through this day, this thought always gets you through it. It's the thought of a couch beer. Now, there's a lot of different beers you can have. A lot of Midwesterners know that. There's a couch beer, there's a post work beer, you got a traveling beer, you got a shower beer, all that stuff. But the thought of a couch beer after making it almost to lunchtime, and you're about 4 hours away from getting out of lunch and back home, can sit on the couch. The thought of a couch beer is a solid 3 spot for getting you through the day. Number 2 for me, Diet Coke. When I can crack a Diet Coke and sip on a Diet Coke, that makes the day go a whole lot better. Now, I will say, people are like, well, why Diet Coke? If you know anything about me, I would drink Diet Coke during a baseball game if I could. It is the best soft drink ever made. Mark my words. Unbelievable. Number 2, excellent pick. Number 1 of the Carps 14ers of the day, what gets you through the day? Rogue nicotine pouches. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with Diet Coke. There's a famous saying, nicotine plus caffeine equals a work beer. Now, don't get me wrong, nothing gets me going more than having a Rogue pouch with a Diet Coke during the day. That sometimes is the answer to all problems that are happening in a single day. If you get a nice Rogue with a Diet Coke, that is the best thing that happens. Now, I mean, you can mix in maybe a Dr. Pepper here and there, Mountain Dew, but Diet Coke, Rogue pouches, that seals the deal. Hammer it out. Carps 14ers of the day. What gets you through the day? Number 1 pick, Rogue pouches, without a doubt. Unanimous decision on my part. Close number 2, but just doesn't barely make it to the number 1 spot, Diet Coke. Number 3, solid number 3, the thought of a couch beer. And then rounding out the Carps 14ers of the day is, when can I golf again? Great question, gets you through the day. That's all we need to do. And that brings us to the conclusion of the first episode of the Carps Corner podcast. I'd like to thank you for listening all the way through. I'd love to hear your opinions on my 14ers of the day. I hope everybody has a great March Madness, a great opening weekend for Major League Baseball, and a great Easter. And I will see you guys Monday